Are you ready for fan-driven Razorback talk? For the fans, by the fans. This is Inside the Hawg Pen with your hosts, Razorback Zach and Marcus MC Carlton.
What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday night. And it is, as you can tell, I'm in the festive mood. It's Christmas time. And guess what? I'm flying solo tonight. Razorback Zach taking a little vacation. Sarah Swish out doing her thing, doing her Santa Claus deal tonight. So it's just going to be us, okay? Just going to be our show tonight. And man, oh man, have we got some stuff to talk about. National Signing Day is today. If you'd asked me about it last night, I would have thought that that we were in for a rough day, but we'll get into that in a minute. Just want to welcome everybody in to Inside the Hawg Pen. This is your boy MC tonight, and like I said, we're flying solo, me and you. You know, you guys got to be my wingman tonight. So let's get this thing underway. Go ahead and you can leave us a review on Facebook or on YouTube, either one. We'll take it wherever we can get it, man. We'll take the positive feedback or negative feedback. Tell if you think we suck, tell us we suck. You know, I don't care. I just want to hear feedback one way or the other. Don't forget about our podcast, available on all the major outlets, Spotify, Apple, pretty much everywhere except Google, because Google's doing away with their podcast division. So there's plenty of other places for you to get it. including this show tonight, which will be archived and uploaded, be available tomorrow morning. So if you don't get a chance to finish out the show tonight, you can take a listen to it tomorrow morning. So, all right, got all that out of the way. Now, let's get into signing day. Coming off of a 4-8 season, you don't expect a whole lot out of signing day. Especially when you saw the news last night that the number one recruit in the state was going to play for Father Eli up at Missouri. And why am I calling him Father Eli? Well, because after stealing 3 of the top 10 recruits in the state of Arkansas and putting an absolute murderous beatdown on Arkansas in the last game of the season, I think until we actually man up and do something, we're going to have to call him Father Eli. So, Father Eli Drinkwitz takes the top 3 recruits in the state, including Courtney Crutchfield out of Pine Bluff, which once he decommitted a few weeks ago, not a big surprise. I didn't see him coming back. I think Bobby Petrino made a good effort once he got on board to go down and visit with Courtney and, make his pitch, but I think it was too little too late at that point. So he's headed to Missouri along with Brian Huff and another kid from Pine Bluff that I cannot, I'm not dogging the kid. I just honestly can't remember his name right now. But anyway, Coach Pittman had his presser earlier this afternoon to talk about signing day. And, looking out at some of these recruits, and I'll pull these up in just a minute. It looks like I got these numbers from 24/7 Sports earlier today. Looks like we signed about 16 high schoolers and about 8 transfers. According to 247 Sports, that comes in about 28th nationally and about 14th in the SEC. So right about, honestly, where all the other recruiting classes have been, with a few exceptions here and there. Arkansas is usually 25 to 30 range nationally, and anywhere from 10 to 14, because now there's 16 teams in the SEC. So anywhere from 10 to 14 coming up in the SEC. The one that caught my eye the most was the portal rankings. And again, going off of 247 as of about 3 o'clock this afternoon. The portal rankings. Arkansas ranks 16th nationally in the portal transfer recruiting rankings, whatever you want to call them. That's good enough for 5th in the SEC. I kind of put a little more emphasis on the portal, not because Arkansas is doing better, but because the majority of the time you get these kids that have come in, when they come out of the portal, they're ready to contribute right away, rather than a true freshman who might or might not be ready to contribute right away. Going to go ahead and jump into our live fan feedback. Jonathan Parker, first one up tonight. Merry Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas to you. You can see I've got my good, beautiful, ugly sweater on. I've got this hat on that is like way too hot, that is probably not going to last very much longer. Let's see. Jonathan's still with us. Let's go up and let him go up and set the bench and get money experience and then come back for the Hogs. I mean, that is a possibility. With the transfer portal, you can't write anybody off. It's just, you hate to lose the top recruit in the state, no matter the situation. If you dive a little deeper into the numbers, 5 of the top 10 recruits in the state of Arkansas are going somewhere else. 3 of them are going to Missouri, 1 to Auburn, which is Walker White, and then the Lindsay quarterback that's going to Minnesota. That's 5 of your top 10. Hey, got some royalty in the house here. Mama Linda. Finally got to meet Mama Linda on Saturday. We'll talk about that a little later on in the show, but that was very nice to meet up with her. She came bearing gifts when we met up for like a little pregame meal before the game Saturday down at North Little Rock. And we'll dive into that a little bit later on in the show. But good to see that Mama Linda's on here with us tonight. Like I said, it's just me and you tonight. So if y'all don't like what I'm talking about, you got to tell me. You got to tell me, and we'll talk about what you want to talk about. Speaking of Miles McFerrin coming in, does it not piss off Pittman to see? Okay. I got to screen these a little better before I put them up. Does it not tick off Pittman to see the crap that Drinkwitz does, and especially the highest recruit in the state? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, the billboard thing, there was a billboard here about 10 minutes from my house spotlighting Brian Huff and the fact that he went to Missouri. He's the big linebacker from Valley View, a good get for, Father Eli, as I called him earlier today. The billboard thing, yeah, you can kind of get fired up a little bit about that. I mean, if you saw the tweet from Eli Drinkwitz yesterday after Courtney Crutchfield committed, that was one that I figured everybody would be fired up about more so than the billboards. Arkansas's done the billboard thing. We've had billboards pop up in Atlanta and Tulsa and a few other places. Miles coming back said it's got a lot of fire unders, but in my opinion, it would mean. I mean, yeah, kind of. But until Arkansas wins some games against Missouri, there's not a whole lot that you can do other than just sit there and take it. Because if you look at the football records right now, it's not pretty. Missouri pretty much owns us in football right now. And if you look at Drink and Pittman, where, they're both hired at the same time. Drink was hired at Missouri, Pittman hired here. You see where they're both at in year 4, and it's kind of cringe. I mean, it's kind of hard to look at. Miles coming back and brings up the tweet. Yeah, if you haven't seen the tweet, go find Drinkowitz's tweet on Twitter, X, whatever you call it. I got to admit, man, it made me laugh. I couldn't be mad at him for the trolling and the trash talking that he did. I mean, it was one of those burns that was so bad that it kind of makes you look at it and go, okay, all right, I got to tip my hat because that was a good burn. Out, we got the cancer ass kicker in the house too. Casey Sutton. Casey was there along with Mama Linda Saturday. We met up. Me, Zach, Sarah Swish, Casey, Mama Linda, and a few others from the show were there together pregame, and we had a great time. Finally got to meet Casey and Linda both, and we did a little video right outside of where we were eating before we went over to the stadium for pregame. Just had an all around great day. They came bearing gifts, man. They got us all. We had like the little bells that we put on and more into the game that Mama Linda had brought us, and then we had some gifts, some snacks, some very tasty snacks that came in handy on the way home, by the way. So thank you for that. You saved me a little bit of money at the gas station driving back up here to Jonesboro, and it was just a really fun night. To kind of go back on this signing day thing, I want to pull this up a little bit, and we're going to kind of browse through these just real quick. And I'm not going to go into depth on these guys. I'm going to spotlight a few of these along the way. This Ashton Bethel Roman, that's a big time wide receiver out of Missouri City, Texas. That was borderline if we were going to get him or not. One of those last minute decision type deals. That was a big get. Of course, you got Kobe Branham out of Fort Smith Southside. Anything on the offensive line, I'm going to chalk it up as being good because of all the help that we need. And then, so you get down into here and you see this Fernando Carmona. He's actually one of the transfer portal guys out of San Jose State, another big offensive lineman. Charleston Collins out of Pine Bluff. That's going to be a big get as well. There you see Taylon Green, the quarterback transfer from Boise State. Another KJ at quarterback. I thought that was interesting. KJ Jackson coming out of Montgomery, Alabama, 6'4", 222. Looks to be another big dude at quarterback that could come in and maybe compete. And one of the big surprises on the day, Cross Johnson, he is a wide receiver out of New Orleans. Now, you look at him, 5'10", 170. He's not big. Dude is a speed demon. He's an absolute burner. I'm trying to think of somebody good to compare him to, and I'm coming up blank. The only guy that I can think of, and you're going to have to go way back in the time machine with me here on this. Okay, go back with me to 2006, Arkansas playing LSU in Little Rock. McFadden has the big 80-yard run. Say goodbye, Vern Lundquist's favorite line. He goes off. We kick off to LSU. LSU returns it back immediately to put their lead back where it was. The guy that returned that kick, he's just like a little water bug all over the field. Not a very big guy, but man, when he hits the burners, he's gone. That's the only guy that I can kind of think of off the top of my head to compare Cross Johnson to. Not real highly rated, but look, anybody that we sign on offense right now, I'm pretty much taking the mindset of, hey, if Coach Petrino thinks they will work, then in Coach Petrino we trust when it comes to all things offense. So be interested to see what Cross Johnson does once he gets up on the hill. Addison Nichols is another offensive line transfer. I believe he's the kid from Tennessee, 6'5", 327. That's a good size. Braylon Russell is another one that I think could come in, especially with Rocket leaving. I think you could see Braylon Russell come in and possibly compete for some snaps early on as a freshman. He's a running back, 6'1", 240. I mean, he's a big dude. He's SEC size already, and he's coming in as a true freshman. Matthew Shipley, the big kicker from Hawaii, transfer there. I think he'll be a nice replacement for Cam Little when Cam Little goes off to make his millions in the pros. Danikiel Slaughter from Tennessee is a good get on the D-back. And then right here at the bottom, Xavier Sorey Jr. This is one that kind of come out of left field, I think. I think Matt Hart and maybe some of the guys over at Hog HQ had some insight on this, but I don't follow recruiting as close as they do. But this dude was a 5-star. He was the top outside linebacker in the country in the class of 2021. He's been sitting on the bench down at Georgia. Very similar to the Drew Sanders type deal when we got him from Alabama. I think Xavier Sorey is a different kind of linebacker from what Drew Sanders was. But look, I got no problem taking 5 stars from Alabama and Georgia. If they can't see the field there, hey man, bring them up here and we'll put them on the field and see what happens. So getting back to our comments here, Loki DeWitt coming in. The last guy we got from Fort Smith, Jalen Williams, helped change the culture of the sport he played. Hopefully we can get that same thing in football. You know, that's a great point. I hadn't thought about that, but it always seems like that, you know, when we get to a point where we need a culture change, it always seems like it's going to end up being a guy from Arkansas that ends up leading the charge. It was kind of that way with Jalen Williams and Devo. You know, they came in the same class, and those two guys kind of helped Musselman get off the ground when he got started here. And I'm interested to see what the kid from Fort Smith can do. At this point, you're coming off 4-8, and I think at this point, anybody you get, you know, you take them and you see what you can get out of it. Jonathan Richards comes in, recruited at the bottom of the SEC, finished at the bottom of the SEC. Didn't do near as much as we needed to at the offensive line position. I would have liked to have seen a little more come in on the offensive line. Hang on, bear with me for just a second. Okay. And no, that's non-alcoholic. That is my tasty Mountain Dew beverage. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'm not popping a cold one. I am, but I'm not. So you know, Richard, Jonathan, I can't argue with that too much. I mean, you're coming off of a 4-8 season. The fact that you can pull, you know, any 4-star, 5-star players, even if it's out of the portal, if you can pull them after a 4-8 season, then you take what you can get. You know, the rankings that I pulled up earlier, like I said, as of 3:00 this afternoon from 247 Sports, they had us at 28th nationally on the incoming freshman recruits, and then 14th in the SEC. 14th in the SEC is kind of cringe because that means you're down there towards the bottom with Vanderbilt, and I think Mississippi State were the two teams that were behind us at the time. 28th nationally, I mean, honestly, that's about normal, where it doesn't matter unless Arkansas is coming off of a 9 or a 10 win season. Very seldom have I seen them go above maybe 25 up to 20. I think I remember one class that was inside the top 10 in my lifetime, and that was the class with I think Joe Adams and Tyler Wilson and Greg Childs and I mean all those absolute studs. So, you know, recruiting, it is what it is, man. I'm to the point now. I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today. I put a lot more emphasis on the portal and what are you getting out of the portal opposed to what you get as incoming freshmen, because most of those guys, especially if they're coming from an SEC school like a Georgia or a Tennessee or somewhere like that, you know, they should be field ready, man. You know, we got Nudie came in from LSU. He was field ready. He was ready to go right off the bat. The big defensive lineman, Landon Jackson, that we got off of LSU as well. I mean, talk about a plug and play type dude. He played his way right into the draft. So it's definitely one of those deals. You know, I put more emphasis on the portal. I just think it's a game changer, and recruiting has changed, man, because you're trying to build your team every single year And you're trying to keep these guys, not only once you sign them, you're trying to get them to stay once you get them here, because there's no guarantee that they're not going to hit the portal. So it's, like I said, this dude right here, that's the one I'm excited about. The guy right above him is also from Tennessee. But you see this dude, I mean, he played in 11 games at Georgia with 2 starts, and he's a redshirt sophomore. So he's coming in, he's got several years of eligibility to work with going forward. So it's going to be nice to see how he comes in and how he adapts and plays with Arkansas, coming into this next season. So that's kind of signing day. That's kind of what happened there. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to step aside, take a quick break, kind of reshuffle some things a little bit, because there wasn't just a whole lot to talk about with football. I will say this, since I was on a couple weeks ago, KJ did make his announcement. He's headed to the portal. Hasn't announced where he's going yet. I personally think he's going to end up at TCU. Hang on. Got somebody knocking at the door here wanting to come in.
All right, will do, man.
All right.
Well, I got to jump onto this.
I threw you in it early, man. That's my bad. I didn't realize you were on the phone. But KJ, it makes sense for me that he would go and reunite with Kendall Briles down at TCU.
Sorry about that.
So I had just finished up talking about recruiting and was talking about KJ hitting the portal, because I wasn't on the show last week. I was pretty bad sick last week, and appreciate Sarah and Zach covering for me. But I'm back here among the living this week. What do you think on KJ? You think he's headed to TCU?
Well, just to preface it with this, I don't have KJ on my wall anymore.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Old Greg Childs took his place. I don't know where he's going to go. I've kind of been keeping a low-key eye on his social media. Hasn't really hinted at anything. I honestly don't think he's going to go to TCU. I think he's shopping around a little bit. And I don't know.
My thing is with some of these other quarterback names that have been in the portal, I think it's kind of limited his options a little bit, man.
Man, there's a lot of them. You got 10 top 10 you have 10 really good quarterbacks in there. And you got DJ Uwe, whatever the hell.
Uiagalelei.
Yeah, you got a lot of those Pac-12 quarterbacks looking to get some money out of the portal. And it's not. I'm thinking he's going to Auburn personally. That's close to home still. Yeah, but I think that's kind of where I'm thinking he's going to be at.
Well, until Cody Kennedy went down to Mississippi State to be the offensive line coach, I thought Mississippi State might have a shot at him. But I don't think he's going to go down and play behind an offensive line that's constructed by Cody Kennedy after this year.
Man,
all right, I got to come out of the Santa hat, man. It's burning me up.
I don't know. I don't think an offensive line coach is going to be the end all be all on what he goes. But I do think that it's going to be a deciding factor, because look at Auburn, what they ended the season with. Yeah, I mean, they got to be a little scary team at the end. Shout out Auburn for ruining my engagement.
You have like lifetime vendetta against them now, man, because they just they took what was supposed to be just an absolutely perfect day, and it was still great for you. So congratulations to you on that. But it would have been a lot better if we'd have got to see a win to go with it. But so I'm going to jump back into the feedback real quick here.
While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and close this door over here because it's bothering me.
Go ahead. So Jonathan Parker comes in with a question and says, do you think the O-line guys we got make us better? Well, yes and no. To be determined is the quick answer. But on this, I don't know that we could be much worse than we were this past year. So to basically rebuild the offensive line, and you bring in a different offensive line coach, you've got Eric Mateos coming in from Baylor. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Mateos played here and then was a GA.
I don't know if he played here. I think he was just a GA.
Okay. Maybe that's the connection.
I do like the players he's bringing in.
Well,
Because
yeah,
a lot about college football is not the coaching, it's the Jimmies and the Joes, not the X's and the O's.
yeah. You got
And
to have a good mix.
yeah, and I do think that a lot of the players that we got, I mean, we got what an all conference mission. What's up, Sarah?
Hey, Sarah is she's out there playing Santa Claus tonight and doing her thing. Hey, I gotta throw a quick shout out to her while she's up, because this Saturday, we had me and her and Zach all in the same place at the same time for the first time ever. She brought me one of these.
Oh my God.
And but wait, there's more. And then she brought me one of these, which is just truly awesome. But like the Holy Grail, the mother load that she brought me.
Yeah,
I got one of the jerseys, and I meant to try to get it hung up tonight, but it just didn't happen. My kids are out of school now, and I'm in dad mode today, so I didn't get that. So thank you, Sarah Swish, for all the great swag that you brought to me this weekend. Greatly appreciate it. It's going to look really good right back here. So, okay, now that I got that in, the offensive line, the big guy from Tennessee is the one that I'm excited about. I believe that guy had a few starts this year for Tennessee. So
the Michigan State guy got me.
The Michigan State guy is really good. And then, if you look at some of the film, he's not a Power 5 guy, but the guy from San Jose State,
big boy.
He's a big dude. I mean, he grades out really well. So we'll see how it transitions. But I think honestly, with the offensive line, there's nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, I and somebody that kind of snuck under the radar is an Arkansas high school kid. Can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Kid out of Fort Smith.
Yep, out of Southside.
Yeah.
6'7", 315, I think. That's a big
I was
boy.
talking about him just a few minutes ago. I kind of skimmed over the top of the recruits that came in. Let me get back up here. What was that kid's name? Kobe Branham.
Yep,
6'5",
right.
323.
Well, if you look at his Twitter account, it says he is 6'7" on there. So
I'll go with 6'7".
Yeah, I mean, but he's got a lot of growing to do, anyways. I mean, 18-year-old kid, how much more growing can he do?
Right. Well, there's the man himself. He's supposed to be on vacation, but you knew he wasn't going to stay away, and he wasn't going to stay out of the comments. The man himself, Razorback Zach, in saying greetings all from the comments section. That's a little bit of a different view for him tonight. So we'll be able to see how he handles viewing it from 5,000 feet above instead of being right directly in the pilot's seat. So,
yes, sir.
Let's see. Let me look at some of these.
I kind of liked this one right here. I don't think that I don't think if KJ respects himself as much as he thinks he does, there's no way he's going to go to even worse offensive line than he had this year.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, man. Rocket going over there didn't make any sense to me either because of the reason you just mentioned.
Sure doesn't. Sure doesn't. I think man, what's his name? Beamer over there.
Yeah,
he's a hell of a recruiter. He's got a lot of good talent on his team. It's just he doesn't. It's kind of like Drink. Drink in these past couple of years have been able to recruit people, especially this year after going 10-2.
Yeah.
But besides that, I mean, he hadn't just pulled in a whole ton of 5 stars and 4 stars. He had Luther Burden come in, which is a 5-star, but
yeah,
it's beside the point. But he's proven that he's starting to learn the SEC and learn how to win in the SEC, which is the exact opposite of what Beamer's doing. Beamer had probably the best receiver in the SEC. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
One of the top quarterbacks in the SEC if he had offensive line. And I mean, they had a team minus an offensive line. And I just think he does good with the skill positions, and that's about it. He's got to learn how to get learn how to get the offensive line taken, because that's what Drink has found out since he's been in the SEC.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and I mentioned earlier in the show that until Arkansas actually beats Missouri, I'm now referring to him as Father Eli, because after coming in and taking three of the top 10 recruits in the state, I mean,
and planting a flag in Pine Bluff,
and planting a flag in Pine Bluff, and then did you see his tweet after Crutchfield?
Man, I have
that dude. I'll say
your
this,
shit,
man.
dude.
Father Eli is doing his part to build this rivalry between Arkansas and Missouri, because that dude, he walked in and just basically took his muddy boots and put them all over Sam Pittman's couch, and there's not a whole lot that Pittman could do about it.
Hey, Jonathan Parker, if you're talking about the basketball team, I believe they lost to Illinois today by like 2 points.
The women's team, no, they won today. They hit a shot at the buzzer.
Oh, did they?
They hit a shot at the buzzer and won 60-59, I think.
So I had it backwards.
Only reason I know that, I was sitting, waiting on my son to get done at the dentist, was just kind of parsing through Twitter and saw the clip of the game winner. So
I'm gonna put a star by something. I want you to look at it and see if you want to address it.
I see that, and we got to bring that up. I mean, when
I'm never gonna live this shit down.
When the big man is away and leaves us the keys to the car, I mean, we're gonna take it all over the road. We'll just keep it between the ditches. So we'll get to that in a minute. Let's see. David Hazlitt. How about KJ changing his mind instead Arkansas? I don't see it happening.
I don't either.
I just don't.
Apparently, a report came out that BP pretty much said, if you leave, you leave. If you stay, you stay. Yeah. And a lot of the reason why he wasn't in the portal was because he had to cash that last NIL check he had. Yep. So he cashed it. He put his name in the portal. I think he's going to Auburn. And
I could see that. I mean, and honestly, I think he would be a decent fit with a Hugh Freeze offense.
I think he'd be a really good fit.
I honestly, and maybe it's
Robbie Ashford transferred out too, and I believe
that's true.
I believe the Michigan State transfer they had probably ran out of eligibility. I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong though.
Well, and then maybe it's just me being wishful thinking here, but I kind of think he's going to end up at TCU. We saw little Chad transfer out. Chandler Morris hit the portal, left TCU. They have an opening. I mean, to me, that's the fit that makes the most sense, because he was his best when he was running Kendall's offense. You're going to go to a conference that is offense based, and you're not going to face
and Texas and Oklahoma aren't going to be there too,
right?
So.
They're leaving. So two of the better defenses are leaving that league. I mean, he could go down there and put up stupid numbers next year and play his way back into being a second day draft pick. I think it's possible, but I could also see him at Auburn too, wanting to stay in the SEC. That is a little closer to home than I guess Fort Worth would be.
It's basically the exact opposite of Arkansas. Arkansas is northwest from his home. Yeah, that's pretty much southeast from his home, probably in the same drive distance.
Yep. So, all right, here we go. We're just going to detonate the bomb right now.
So Loki it detonated. I'm pretty sure it detonated against Western Carolina.
Yeah, Western Carolina in game 1. So Loki DeWitt comes in and says, since DMAT is in the house, let me just say rocket prematurely detonated to the Cox. I don't know what to add to that. There's not much I can add to that.
I think that is message received.
It kind of stands on its own, doesn't it?
it does something. It doesn't raise anything, if you get what I'm saying. All right, now I'm going to definitely be never invited back.
Yeah. And here we go. Here's Zach. Tell me you didn't just say that. Yeah, I believe we did, man. I believe it was there.
Sorry, Zach.
So, Jamie Roberts has a good comment here about Father Eli. The SEC is helping drink out with that schedule too next year. It's almost laughable. I'll be honest, I haven't looked at Missouri's 2024 schedule. I'll see if I can't get that pulled up during the break before we jump into hoops, because I've got some words I want to say about hoops, because I was at the game Saturday along with Sarah and Zach and Mama Linda and Casey, and I mean there was a whole band of us there, man. And
yep. There was definitely a game that went on Saturday.
There's some things to talk about, man, because Oof.
It's like, do you want to just jump right in?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me pull this banner down, and let me get my other screen pulled up here, and then we're gonna do a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll dive off head first into basketball. So you're watching Inside the Hog Pen, the Christmas edition, but we're gonna go a little Scrooge on basketball when we get back. So y'all stick around. We'll be back right after this. All right, here we are back here inside the Hog Pen, and I want to do this real quick before we jump into hoops. During the break, I said I was going to try to pull up Missouri's schedule. I was able to pull it up here. This is footballschedules.net or .com, and just looking here, the first 3-4 games of Missouri's schedule next year. I mean, it's pretty much Charmin tissue soft there. You open up with Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, and Vanderbilt, and then they get a week off. I mean, do you really earn a week off after those 4 games?
See, what I think they're doing next year, I think they started the games a week early. They're playing in week 0, so you have 2 bye weeks.
You got
now.
Everybody's got 2 bye weeks.
Yeah.
So they come back after their bye week. They go down to Texas A&M, and then this is a weird one. They go to UMass, which is a head scratcher for an SEC team to be going to UMass, even if it is Missouri.
Well, I think UMass, didn't they almost beat Auburn last year?
I think that's right.
But kind of looking at their schedule, I mean, I don't know how good Texas A&M is going to be with the mass exodus that has happened to their program again. But, I mean, Texas A&M, Auburn, Alabama, Oklahoma, that's not going to be an easy schedule right there. Like the fact that they don't have Georgia, I think has people kind of over analyzing it.
Yeah.
They don't have Georgia and Tennessee and Florida.
That's kind of like Arkansas not having to play Alabama in 2020.
Thank God.
Finally. I mean, dang.
I haven't seen them beat Alabama since I was 5 years old, it feels like.
Yeah. So the last time we beat Alabama, my daughter was 9 months old. She's a senior in high school.
2001?
2006.
Yeah, I was 6.
So it was the line that I can hear Vern Lundquist in my head in overtime saying, Springdale freshman to Springdale freshman, Mustang to Ben Cleveland in the end zone.
Yeah.
So there you have it. There's Mizzou's schedule, and I gotta agree with whoever made the comment that schedule's pretty soft, man. That's there's not a lot you can do there.
I mean, they had a pretty easy schedule this year too. I mean,
give
them credit. They beat Tennessee, so give them credit there. But
they beat Tennessee like a drum too. That was a beatdown.
I also think that what's his name? Throw it Joe. I can't remember his name.
Oh yeah,
Joe Milton.
Milton.
He's not a good quarterback. He has a cannon attached to his right arm, but
he reminds me of and this is a name from the past you may or may not remember, Tavares Jackson. That was quarterback here. He could throw it through a brick wall and throw it a mile, but he didn't have the touch. Didn't have the touch passes.
It seems kind of like a very less talented Ryan Mallett.
Yeah,
and
that's a good comparison.
And give it what it is. Mallett could throw the touch passes, throw the deep balls.
Yeah,
he couldn't really do that, and he got exposed this year. And I don't think Heupel's offense kind of fit that narrative for him either, because Heupel wants to take shots and wants to have those deep crosses, and he's not able to make those throws, and you see the consequences of those actions. But
and Milton was hyped. He was hyped up there with KJ and your eventual Heisman winner, Jaden Daniels in the preseason. But
he was good this year.
Man, he just went out and took care of business. I mean, that's all you can say about the dude. So, all right. So we're going to switch gears here. We're going to jump into basketball. We're going to start off with, we're going to recap the Lipscomb game a little bit.
So I'm going to be honest with you, hand in the air. I turned on the Lipscomb game when we were up by 20.
Yep.
We were kind of doing some wedding planning stuff, so couldn't go to the game. Turned the game on up by 20.
Mm-hmm.
Turned off the game when we were up by 12. So,
well, it didn't get any better. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, let me just start at the beginning. Come out. You played decent in the first half. I think we're up 8 at halftime. Come out, go on a huge run in the first probably 6-7 minutes of the second half. Get the lead up to 20 at about 10 and a half minutes left. It was 61-41. The rest of the way to the finish of the ball game, I calculated it up when we were standing right there, and I think we got outscored 25-8 the rest of the way, which is just absolutely unacceptable. I don't understand this team, man. I just do not understand why they can look so good against the likes of Duke. And even early on in Purdue, I mean, it's turning out now that honestly that Purdue game was fool's gold. I mean, it's just flat out fool's gold. And it's kind of feeling like the Duke game was the same way too. The defense is non-existent, and it's not.
It just feels like they can't stay in front of their man.
No,
and it seems like they're trying to force them in a direction, and that direction is straight to the bucket. And something else I noticed on I'm gonna let you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
It was a high pick and roll. I saw a replay of. I think it was Mekhi Mitchell and Pinion were both on it, and Pinion literally jumped at the guy, like got picked and was going to defend the player with the ball. Instead of staying with the pick and pop guy like he probably should have, he decided to jump to contest the ball handler. Ball handler just threw it right back to the pop, and he just nailed it for 3. It's like, how many times as a basketball player have you heard, don't leave your feet?
Exactly. Yes. The problems, and Sarah and I talked about this a little bit at the game and after the game. The problems we have on defense are basic, fundamental defense 101 type stuff. When we have guys rotate to help on defense, first off, they either don't rotate, or the wrong guy rotates, or you get one rotation, meaning one guy rotates to help, but then everybody else doesn't do their job, and you're left in scramble mode. And once you go to scramble mode, you're going to give up either a layup or a wide open 3, which we gave up a ton of both on Saturday. I don't understand why these guys can't get this. This is simple stuff. I could look at the film and break it down and say, okay, look, this is your assignment. This is your assignment. This is your assignment. And I made the comment after the game when I was talking to Sarah, I was like, defense is 70% effort, 30% scheming. And we don't have effort on defense right now.
It's almost scheme the hell out of a defense. If you go back and watch the Purdue game, watch the Duke game, every time we play one of those high-level teams, the scheme is there. It's just all up to the effort. If you go back to Gonzaga, schemed the hell out of Gonzaga to double the Drew Timme and let the other guys hurt us. And they hurt us a little bit, but not enough. But like you're saying, it is all effort. And it just seems like we have a lot of ball watching going on. I don't know if you're kind of picking up on that, but
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of what's going on. And
Well,
then we're playing the Olay defense.
Yeah, we're playing the bullfighter defense. Lipscomb got way too many layups, and just simply because we would either not have a guy step over in the correct position to begin with when his guy got the ball, or as you said, we were doing the whole thing of flying out thinking we were going to block a three. To quote Top Gun, they're going to hit the brakes and he'll fly right by. And that's what happened several times because they would do just the slightest little pump fake. Kenyon Minifield was one, like he looked like he could have kung fu kicked the dude in the face. He jumped so high to try to block the three. Guy drove right around him, hit a little mid-range jumper. I mean, we saw it time after time after time. And then on the offensive end, this is where David Hazlett's comment comes in. Too much standing around with thumb up the anal cavity. 100%. 100%. When we move the ball and we have guys cutting through the lane or cutting baseline, or just not five guys standing out around the three-point line, when we move on offense, we get good looks. But
I feel like
I just don't understand.
Going towards offense, I feel like we get really stagnant when Mark has the ball, and especially Battle. It's kind of a one-on-one game from there. And I mean, I'm not trying to sit here and throw stones, but like they are worth their salt on defense, and that's I full well believe that this team, if they shore up the defensive end, it's a Final Four team.
The offense is there. The offense can be there. And I agree. They've got to shore up the defense because the defense is what's going to get them as far as they're going to go in this season. Now, I will say this. I noticed Saturday, it's the first game I've got to see in person, but to me, it looks like that Tremont Mark is a half a step to a full step slower than he was prior to his injury.
Still a little gimpy.
Still just a little bit gimpy. And you have to really look for it because, I mean, he's still scoring points. I think he ended up 12, 15 points the other day. We had 3 straight possessions in a row where they backed off in a zone and didn't guard him. And he come down and hit a 3-pointer in pretty much the exact same spot, 3 straight trips. So it pulled them out of the zone. But, if you think back to prior to the injury, the game he got injured in, his main thing was driving, getting past his man and either pulling up for that mid-range jumper or getting all the way to the hole. He doesn't have that same quickness now. And I noticed it more on the defensive end rather than the offense because it seems like that he can't keep anybody in front of him now. And prior to the injury, he was one of our, what I would call one of our lockdown dudes.
Yeah.
So, that's something to keep an eye on. They go back, if you go back and look at the film from the Lipscomb game, they weren't doing anything outrageous, man. They were doing basic screens, basic backdoor cuts, and just making us look foolish. And I don't get it. I just don't get it because we've seen what these guys can do in other games, like against Duke. Honestly, I thought we played pretty well against Memphis. They just had a dude that went off, and it's coming up that's not a bad loss now. Memphis is rolling. So
yeah,
I have to hear that from Zach and my buddy Bum. We have to hear reminders of how good Memphis is. But I told him I was like, I told him I was like, hey man, y'all just keep winning because the more y'all win, the better that loss looks for Arkansas and helps us in the long run. So,
and I think something that is kind of lost in this that nobody's really kind of understanding. We're playing one game a week right now, which in most situations, you're playing 2 games a week. You got a game on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yep.
But we kind of just stopped the midweek games. And I feel like for the past 3 to 4 weeks has been a really big part of something that we needed. We don't need to go out there and like play a game, win, or, struggle win, as a buddy from Alabama likes to say.
Yeah.
But I feel like these 1 week games have been really critical for us, and it's going to prove to be critical going down the stretch for us with keeping fresh legs and getting the team to gel more and understanding that this is our problems is what we need to address.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to – so I kind of noticed it last year. I I don't think we had a lot of trouble like guarding dribble drives in the first 3 years of Muss.
Right.
But it seemed like last year we had a lot of issues guarding dribble drives. And it's starting to poke its really ugly head in this season. And if you notice, it's been drive and kick, drive and kick, drive and dunk, drive and dunk. That's what's really kind of getting us. And I understand that we're giving up stuff on the offensive rebounds. That's just one of those things. It's going to happen with people tipping the ball out, especially with longer shots being made or being taken a lot by the offense. So I think we just got to be able to hold on. And I've been telling Zach, I'm like, man, it's looking pretty dark, but every year it looks dark about this time. So we can all just sit here and have our little mini panic attacks. And I'm having them too.
Yeah. It's hard not to, but
it's kind of like playing the stock market. You got to hold through the dips and wait for the ups. It's because it's a freaking roller coaster. I said freaking.
Yeah.
Freaking.
Yeah, we're keeping it kid friendly since it's the Christmas edition. I agree totally with that. It starts up front on defense. If that first guy can't keep his man in front of him, the majority of the time it's putting everybody else into scramble mode.
Well, I mean, at least just stay in front of him a little bit longer than a weight paper sack would.
Yes. Yeah. The defense, and you can tell when you listen to Muss talk in press conferences, you can tell this is driving him crazy. And he's like the guy that's been up all night, connecting the strings here, there, and everywhere like a big conspiracy theory board.
I'll get that name. Hold on, I'll find it.
And he's just like, I don't know what to do. He's all strung out. I can't imagine how much of a madman he is right now after games, because even after the wins, we've had some of the struggle wins that shouldn't have been. I mean, it's just like Saturday, you win. What did we end up winning? 69-66, I think. And if you look right there towards the end, so the last basket we have, which ends up being by Devo, 25 seconds, we've got the ball, we're up 1. If you look over to the side, you can see Muss saying, whoa, pull it out. And then Devo goes up full on madman, Leroy Jenkins style to the hole. And luckily the shot went in for him, because I would have hated to have seen what would have happened to Devo if he'd have missed that shot right there. But it worked out. I mean, it counts the same. Nolan Richardson always said a ragged ride is better than a smooth walk, but damn, man, I'm getting tired of hitting all these potholes along the way. I'd like to get out on the interstate and, just be a Ferrari for once. Oh, this is what that dude, that's what Muss is looking like right now when he's trying to scheme defenses.
What's the assistant coach's name? Keith Smart, when he walks walks into Muss's office.
Yeah, and I made a comment the other night when I was talking with I may have been talking to Sarah, or I don't remember who I was talking to now, but we were talking about, some of the assistants that have left over the last couple of years, Gus Arginal, Clay Mosier, those guys, I think we're seeing just how big of an impact those guys had, because you're replacing those guys with the likes of Ronnie Brewer and Little Muss, and nothing against those guys. I think they're good on the staff, but I don't know that they have the key contributions to the defensive game plan and the offensive motion game plan that Gus Arginal and Clay Mosier had. But anyway, it is what it is. We got to learn to adapt and overcome, because we've got Abilene Christian tomorrow night, and then I think 1 or 2 more games before you get Auburn to open up SEC play. And Auburn just destroyed USC over the weekend. I don't know if you saw any of that game or not.
Be honest here. Bronny is not that good.
No, he's not. He's not.
People keep on trying to pump him up like he's the next coming of his dad.
Yeah, he's not his dad. I mean, he's kind of like when Michael Jordan's son was playing at Illinois. Marcus Jordan, I think is his name. He was not. He was nowhere near his father either.
We got 2 more games: Abilene Christian, UNC Wilmington, then Auburn.
Okay. Wilmington, I believe Wilmington was the team that went into Rupp Arena and beat Kentucky earlier this year. I know it was one of those UNC dash teams because it was right after we had lost our game.
Well,
to
they're
Greensboro.
8-2 right now. So
Wilmington is okay.
Yep, they beat Kentucky 80-73.
Yeah, so you go into Rupp Arena. I mean, at this point, Arkansas can't take anybody lightly after dropping that game to Greensboro. But honestly, outside of that, if you look at the other losses Arkansas has, you've got Oklahoma, you got Memphis, you got North Carolina,
UNC Greensboro,
and UNC Greensboro. One of these things is not like the other, but 3 of those 4 are going to be considered really good losses.
And UNC Greensboro might win their conference and go to the dance. Like, they're not a bad team. It's just just you can't. I'm sorry, you can't lose that game. No,
you know, it's like when we lost to Hofstra a couple years ago. But you did have the excuse of that one being in North Little Rock, so you could kind of say, well, it wasn't a home game.
They're 8-3 right now, by the way.
Okay. Well, them and Old Dominion are in the same conference, and I believe Old Dominion was picked to finish above them. And so Arkansas split between those two. So I'm going to be a big Greensboro fan the rest of the year and hope that they go through and win their conference and end up getting the automatic bid. Abilene Christian tomorrow night. Let me put this up here for everybody because this is usually what Zach does. Let me throw that up there. There we go. So
sure,
Thursday night.
SEC Network.
That is the actual SEC network. It's not SEC Plus. It's not ESPN Plus. It's actual traditional SEC network. So we get and guess what? Our game will start on time because we're the early game.
6 p.m. is an early game.
That's the early game.
You know what? I'm not going to argue. Never mind. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, SEC on SEC Network, they usually go 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock or 6:30 and 8:30. So we'll actually get to see tip off on this one and not have to channel hop on 7 different channels in the first 5 minutes of the game. So that'll be nice.
I don't know if your desk is made out of wood, but please, for all of us, go ahead and take a knock on it.
Yep, you can hear me kind of knocking on it. It's got a wood-like material in it. So. I'll use that and that'll work. So
I think they call that particle board.
Yeah. And so quick little sidebar on this table. This table is older than I am. It was actually my grandfather's table that I'm using right now. So
what do you think, MC? Do we make March?
Loki DeWitt. So do we all believe we make March at this rate? Make March? Yes. Yeah. Now, can we avoid that 7, 8, 9 seed line?
At this point, I don't care what seed we have. Again,
I would honestly rather, instead of being on that 8, 9 line, I would honestly rather be a 10 or do the play-in game at an 11.
Yeah.
Than
pull the
be on the
UCLA.
On the 8, 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm still holding out hope that Muss is going to do Muss things. This team is going to kind of roller coaster a little bit till about January 20th. That seems to be about the date when things kind of turn around.
It was almost halfway through February last year.
Yeah, it was a little later last year, but you know, the prior 2 years on that, it was around the middle of January, and they hit that run and then run late January, early February, made a good run, and then kind of fizzled out a little bit right before the dance hit. So yes, right now, until Muss gives me a reason to not believe that he's going to turn it around, I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to believe it that he's going to turn it around, get the ship righted. You've got to, I think one of the keys, man, you've got to get El Ellis to where he can contribute again. I don't know what happened to him when they went to the Bahamas. I don't know, if he went Peter Brady and found like the little voodoo statue or whatever, but he's lost.
Kill a chicken in the locker room.
I mean, I'm about to the point where if somebody says we want to sacrifice a live chicken in the locker room, I'm about to the point where I'll go down the road to Pico and grab one. What's that?
You didn't think I'd know that reference, did you?
Yeah, that I like that, man. That's well played right there. But I'm about to the point where I would, it's not like there's not plenty of live chickens over there close that they could go grab and make that happen. So
I'm sure you can get an NIL deal for a chicken from Tyson.
yeah, there we go. So either way, man, got to start it out tomorrow night. I would love nothing more for Christmas. And I have a birthday coming up too. So, I mean, if they want to go ahead and blow this bunch out tomorrow night and that be my birthday present, I'd be totally fine with that. But you've got to get the win tomorrow night. And honestly, I would really, really like to see, a 20, 25 point win to where at the end of the game, the crowd's kind of chanting for Cade Arbogast to get some playing time. So we haven't seen one of those in a while. I'd like to see one.
I think that comes with a lot of maturity. Like, I think Zach's touched on it a little bit. The guys kind of pat themselves on their back a little too much during the game.
I think so. Yeah.
And I think Muss has got to rein them in. I think at some point we got to start throwing chairs across the floor and start becoming what everybody doesn't want anymore, and it's called the butthole coach.
Yeah.
I think we need more of that. I think a lot of because I'm not saying Muss is like some soft players coach. I think Muss holds his team accountable. It's just I think he lets them kind of get away with maybe just a tad too much. And
I can see that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Coming from his pro roots, I mean, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Kind of telling them, all right, look, here's what I want to see, but then he leaves it up to them to kind of police themselves to get to that point.
And here's the thing. There's a difference between being a pro coach and being a college coach. At college, you're still raising these kids to be grown men. And in the NBA or G League, or even in overseas, I mean, they might be 18, 19, 20, but at this point they are adults because this is now a job. This is not a hobby. We're seeing a lot of hobby type of people in sports worlds now. I kind of got it brought up to my attention. I don't know if you've noticed this with George Pickens on the Steelers. Yeah. But he's a top 20 pick in the NFL draft. Yeah. Now he's just giving like the worst effort possible, and probably, I mean, it's probably going to come with some repercussions this year.
I mean, I think it's got to at some point. So
yeah, I think that's kind of becoming a theme for. Man, I feel like I'm gonna be the old guy on the lawn. It's becoming a theme for this generation.
Yelling at the cloud. Yeah. Welcome to my club, man, because I see, I was telling Sarah this weekend because, she and I we're kind of the basketball too that kind of go through and talk strategy and stuff and get way off in the weeds on basketball. We were talking about, and I told her, I was like, bad basketball physically hurts me. It just like makes me cringe when I see guys doing stuff that you shouldn't have junior high kids doing. And we still have some of that at times, but hey, tomorrow night you got a chance, come out, take care of business. And then you get a few days off, you go home, you see mama and everybody at Christmas, and then you come back and it's on at that point, man. I mean, at that juncture,
one tune-up game at that point.
You got one tune-up game left at that point, and then the seriousness gets underway. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. Man, we've been going about an hour. I say we go ahead and shut this thing down and get ready for Christmas. I got one more thing I got to throw out here for everybody. So we are not going to have a show next week. That would be the 27th for multiple reasons. Obviously, we're going to be enjoying the Christmas holiday, but Zach is out of town. Sarah is probably going to be working, and my daughter has a Christmas tournament that she's going to be playing in next Wednesday night. So hopefully that'll be one of about 3 or 4 games we end up playing in that tournament. But hey, D-Mad, appreciate you jumping on with me here tonight. Kind of help me float the boat through this thing tonight and get us off to the Christmas holiday.
Man, I'm just happy to be here.
Hey, it's been a fun one, and for D-Mad and for Zach and for Sarah, Merry Christmas to everybody out there. For just go and enjoy it, have a good time with your family, and we'll be back not on the 27th, but we'll be back, I guess, right after the first of the year when SEC play starts. We may end up coming in and doing a little bit of we're gonna kind of change the shows up a little bit when we get into right after the first of the year, because SEC does play on Wednesday nights a lot. So I think what we've talked about we're going to do is we're going to do either pregame or postgame, depending on if Arkansas plays the early game or the late game on Wednesday night. But either way, we'll be back in 2024. So from now until then, everybody go, have a good time, be safe, and we'll see you back here in a couple weeks.